What would it be like if you ended up inside of a huge empty bubble? Even if you weren't alone there, it wouldn't save you from the oppressive emptiness. Perhaps this was precisely what Kazimir Malevich represented, creating the black square. Total emptiness. Absolute nothingness, which shocked even the artist himself. But what if this contradictory picture is represented by a real landscape somewhere in space? In 1915, Malevich could not have yet known that in 63 years, astronomers would discover some of the eeriest places in the universe, the vast areas of the void between clusters of galaxies, the so-called voids. Mankind was truly horrified by a 1981 discovery. The American astronomer Robert Kirshner and his team found an epic hole in the universe, a huge spherical region of space with a diameter of 330 million light-years, in which there are almost no galaxies. This void, known as Boötes Void, is sometimes called the Great Void. According to astronomer Greg Aldering, if the Milky Way were in the center of the Boötes Void, we would not have known about the existence of other galaxies before the 1960s. But as it turned out, we discovered other galaxies in 1920. Imagine that a flea was placed on a train with 44 of the largest tanker cars, each with a volume of 120 cubic meters. Our galaxy would look something like this in the Boötes Void, along with all its filling of 300 billion stars. The Boötes Void is the emptiest region of space in the known universe. In all this space, only 60 galaxies have been discovered. For comparison, our Milky Way has about 24 neighbors within just some 3 million light-years. Considering that on average the distance between galaxies in the universe is several million light-years, then in such a vast space as the Boötes Void, there should be about 10,000 galaxies. The reality of such emptiness provides food for thought. Of course, visitors to this area would be, to put it mildly, stunned by such isolation, given the extreme distances between galaxies, and the view of distant space would look blacker than black. This is a perfect example of the most ideal vacuum in space, with elementary particles such as photons and neutrinos just floating by slowly. Their properties don't change even after hundreds of millions of years because they encounter practically no obstacles in their path. Due to its extreme low density, the Boötes Void can be considered an ideal time capsule that can offer us a lot of information. But if you think you've now learned about the most terrible place in the observable universe, you are mistaken. In 2004, astrophysicists shuddered at the cold that blew from the constellation of Eridanus. If an icy hell exists, then it's probably hidden somewhere here. Measurement of the so-called relic radiation, or cosmic microwave background, showed that this ominous place has an unusually low temperature. The cold indicates the presence of a huge void, as radiation loses energy when it passes through empty regions in its path, which leads to the appearance of the CMB cold spot on the microwave radiation map of the universe. Studies by Istvan Zapudi of the Institute of Astronomy at the University of Hawaii at Manoa confirm that the cold phenomenon is associated with the super-emptiness of Eridanus. The width of this black void is estimated at 490 million light-years, but many believe that it's much larger and reaches 2 billion light-years. According to a group led by Dr. Istvan Zapudi, this is probably the largest single structure in the universe ever identified by humans. But there are inconsistencies in this hypothesis. According to the data obtained, this super void can cool the CMB relic radiation by about 20 microkelvins, and the giant spot in Eridanus is about 70 microkelvins colder than the rest of the background. Could this mean that this emptiness is even larger than we think? However, astronomers from the University of Durham in the UK suggest that this super void is a cluster of many much smaller voids, each of which is surrounded by galaxies. That is, it should look something like foam, made up of many soap bubbles represented by the voids. Scientists argue that the total density of matter in smaller voids, if we compare them with the clusters of galaxies around, turns out to be about the same as the density of matter at other points in the universe beyond the cold spot. A WMAP cold spot, also called the Eridanus supervoid, gives rise to many hypotheses. Perhaps the most exciting one suggests that the origin of the cold spot was caused by the collision of our universe with the soap bubble of another universe, says team member, astronomer Tom Shanks. He believes that a cold spot may be the first evidence in the history of mankind of the existence of the multiverse, in which billions of parallel universes are side by side with ours. Meanwhile, this great cosmic nothingness once again casts doubt on traditional cosmological thinking. Under attack is the whole theory of the Big Bang, which depends on uniform distribution of matter in the universe after the explosion. Galaxies should be located close to each other, and the voids between them should not be very large. According to one theory of void formation, galaxies tend to gravitate towards each other, leaving behind areas of empty space. But in order for such huge voids to form, the universe must have existed much longer than is supposed by modern science. The observed structure cannot have been created by the visible matter of which the objects around us and we ourselves are composed of. By all accounts, there hasn't been enough time since the Big Bang for this to be so. The redistribution of dark matter, which began much earlier than the first galaxies formed, could have given rise to galactic superclusters and giant voids. Greg Aldering, who discovered the Botez void, believes that the great voids that cannot be explained are formed from the merging of smaller ones. Moreover, the Sloan Digital Sky Survey project allows you to see a model of what is happening right now in the universe. Voids are appearing, expanding in all directions, and causing the galaxies to squeeze out. It's pretty creepy, isn't it? But there's even more shocking information that directly concerns us. In 2013, a group of astronomers came to the conclusion that the Milky Way, together with the nearest galaxies, is located in the middle of a truly colossal void with a length of about 2 billion light years. Scientists have compared the amount of radiation reaching the Earth from nearby galaxies and from the far corners of the universe. The picture looked as if humanity was living on the far outskirts of a metropolis. The glow over the big city illuminates the night sky more than the light of windows in houses nearby. Welcome to the universal outback, Earthlings, said study authors Ryan Keenan, Amy Barger, and Lennox Cowie. The first letters of their surnames served as the name for the giant area of relative emptiness, KBC. The KBC void is a hot topic of discussion in the astronomer community. Its existence would solve some fundamental problems. If the KBC void really exists, then the low density of galaxies in the surrounding space would explain the discrepancy between the values of the Hubble constant, which characterizes the speed of expansion of the universe. This is one of the most difficult problems of modern astrophysics. Different methods of calculation give different values for the Hubble constant. In the near part of the observed universe, the speed of expansion of space is greater than in the remote areas of the universe. But in theory, the Hubble constant, like any other constant, should not be changing depending on the measurement method. If the Milky Way is in a giant void, then there's much less matter found on the cosmic microwave background on the way to Earth than the average for space. By correcting for this, it's possible to reconcile the experimental data and accurately measure the rate of expansion of the universe. Life on the edge of the void seems alarming, perhaps because of this cosmic vacuum that we so keenly feel loneliness or this striving to be near other people. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to write your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about the great voids around us?